Welcome, everyone. Welcome to SMOC's, the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, I should say. We often say SMOC, our acronym. The Southwest Minnesota Arts Council's virtual reception for John Knife Sterner, a friend and our Prairie Star for 2023. 2022 and 3. It's a 2-year honor. So we are just so glad to be able to showcase John's work in our gallery for a 7-week period. His exhibit runs through June 23rd of 2023. If you're watching this video after the fact, I better mention the year occasionally. And come and see it in person. It's astounding. There are so many pieces, and you will be able to witness the whole exhibit on a video that we'll be showing here in a minute. But I wanted to just say hello as we begin. John is able to be on with us, although he's calling in from a regional track meet where he is a coach and able to take a little time out of a very busy day to join us. So let me tell you just a little bit about welcoming our gallery artist. He is SMOC's 2022-23 Prairie Star, John Sterner of Marshall. The exhibit is titled Let My Prayer Rise Up. It's in the SMOC Gallery in downtown Marshall at 509 West Main Street from May 11th. That's when we had our opening reception in person, to June 23rd. In addition to being the high honor of being SMOC's nominated Prairie Star, John has also received a SMOC Individual Artist Grant most recently in 2021. He has received other grants from us in the past. We are so pleased to be able to share his work. This exhibit is comprised of ink and acrylic Lakota imagery on church bulletins. It's very unique. You can follow John's artistic journey on his Instagram, which is at Malauha, or visit his website at johnknifesterner.com. I'm going to turn it over to John and let him give a little bit of a bio about himself before we jump into the gallery video. John, take it away.
A little bit of bio of me is my unchi on my Sichangu Lakota side. When I was 3 years old, had me draw some pictures for her, and I drew a giraffe and a rhino and an elephant and a zebra, and she said they looked beautiful and that they looked exactly like they were supposed to. And she said she wanted me to remember that because I was a Sichangu Lakota, and that my life was to be an artist because I come from a long line of artists, and that I was destined to be an artist. So I guess that's always been in the back of my head. I've been talking to a lot of people lately about the act of creation and what it's like when you can't create. I've gone through a spell here since school ended where I told my wife, I lamented to her, we've been out of school for 2 weeks and I've probably drawn only 2 days. But I've been extremely busy, but it's just, that's out of the ordinary for me, and it's crushing me that I'm not drawing right now. So to know me is to know that I like to make art, and that I love to be in a corner just drawing. I like to paint. I paint many things. I paint with gouache, watercolor, sometimes acrylic, but mostly in oil. I do landscapes, specifically plein air. I teach workshops on plein air. And I also, probably the biggest thing I do is that I sculpt. And I make lots of sculptures. And make them out of bronze, cast iron, and other materials. Whatever I can make it out of, I make them out of. My wife will tell you that our basement and my barn is just a myriad of needs to be completed sculptures. Sometimes you get started, sometimes you finish, sometimes you don't. I'm very Sichangu in that way, meaning that it's more important to get there than it is to arrive on time. It took me 5 years to complete a baptismal font for a church, and not entirely because of me, but it just took that long. And it's about making it right and being right. And I think that Tungashila, the Great Spirit, tells me when the time is to make something and when I need to put effort in it. I just was making room on my phone so I could have the Zoom, and discovered that I had a church drawing from 2014 that I had photographed. And so this is something that I've always done. I learned to draw in school while class was going on because it kept me out of trouble. I learned to draw in church because it kept me from getting pinched by my mother. So, it just became something that it just flowed out of me. And then as I've gotten older here, it became not only what I was thinking, but what I was compelled to think. So I would start to hear the opening prayer, or I'd hear what the gist of the church service was going to be, and ideas started to flow related to eagles and buffalo and horses and my Sichangu heritage, and many times the images directly relate to what's being said on that page, and I draw them as quickly as I can in pen, and the drawing doesn't always get finished at church. Many times it just depends on how long the lecture is, or the sermon. And when the sermon lasts longer, the drawing gets further done. But I spend then the rest of the week, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I should go to bed, but I feel like the urge to create. So I start markering or finishing the drawings. And throughout the week, then I finish the 4 or 5 drawings I did during church that week. And I find it's like as if I was reading from my daily, my daily devotions, in a sense that it is a way that connects me to God, connects me to Tungashila, connects me to the higher sense that I feel that I should belong to, and keeps me centered and grounded. So I've really enjoyed making these devotional ledger drawings, because it's very much the tradition in Lakota and in other Plains Indians. When we were put on the reservation, and we couldn't speak the language of the people that ran the trading post or ran the reservation headquarters, they would ask them, they'd give them an old accounting book and colored pencils and crayons and say, tell us about you. And then there's these great drawings that occurred that are so full of energy and life, that depict so many things. I think of Black Elk. Black Elk drew a lot of images about his dreams of what was going to happen to the Lakota Nation, and they're all expressed in ledger drawings. And there's modern legend drawings like Donald Montelow and others. Oscar Howe is probably one of the most famous. And that they continue to do this. There's a Dakota guy out of Inkpa Mani, out of Sisseton, that is doing ledger drawings now too. And it's just this, I don't know, it connects me and it makes me feel whole again. For a long time, when I was young, I went home to the reservation and lived there. And then when I was 17 and 18, I realized they didn't have a lot of them didn't have the same dreams and goals that I had. And I wanted to distance myself. And then in my 20s, I started to I wanted to know more about who I was. And I found that art has been the way that brings me back to who I am and connects me with my grandparents and all of my relatives. How's that?
That's wonderful. It's just, what a beautiful way to meditate on the message of the previous Sunday, and to have that time to pray again through the week as you finish your piece each week. What a great spend of time at night. It's beautiful. I'm so pleased to be able to share it with the public. So
thank you.
Yes, Crystal is from our office. Crystal went and shot video and photos, still photography of each of the pieces. I believe she's showing them in sets of 2. And the video is 11 minutes long. So enjoy this video that we're going to play for you that shows the entire exhibit. If you want to or need to go off camera while you're watching, you're welcome to do that. We will intersperse the full video full screen. So as you're watching it, your face will not necessarily be on the video in the final edit for our website. So thank you, Crystal, for your work on this. Always appreciate that. Enjoy this.
Yes.
That
really
was
cool.
so cool. I live with those almost every day and you know, have my own worship with them in my own way every day. And I still, when I see them in the video, it's so impactful. And
Oh,
I pick out many more that I would like in my own collection. John, maybe you were surprised at how many were marked sold.
yeah,
I don't think I've gotten a note to you yet that we've had a number of more of additional people come in and walk through, and we have we'll get you a note and those checks out. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's just
yay.
amazing. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity, Pilamaye, and the way you hung them, and then the way Crystal photographed them and put them together like that, and the music, and just oh wow, I moved. It was really cool. Thank you. I see there. I don't know how to describe it. There's moments where I see them again now, and I don't remember making them. So it's one of those. I don't know how. You know, that's that. You're in the zone and connected. You know, I think of the Hail Marys. You know, you say a number of Hail Marys, and you're supposed to switch into the right side of your brain, and you reach a higher connection to God when you're in those Hail Marys. And that there's a lot of them I looked at and I was like, oh, I remember that one. I don't remember making that one. When did I do that one? You know, so it's yeah, it's refreshing because it's almost as if I see the work again for the first time. I've been overwhelmed twice, when I had the opening and then tonight now. So thank you.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Janelle, Pastor Janelle, any questions or comments? We love to have questions for our artists. If you or Crystal or either of you would like to share anything, that'd be great.
I would be delighted. I have the honor of being John's pastor at Christ Lutheran, and I get to see, I call it the first draft, or the etching that begins the whole process for him on Sunday mornings. And once in a while I throw on that little bit longer message for you, John, so that you have a little longer to do. But a couple of things that, you know how moving your art is for me. I mean, it moved me to tears at the opening. I cried again watching the video. It's just so powerful. One of the things that I wonder about is you talk about in your written bio piece about the sense of tension and wanting motion to happen. And I wonder how that spoken word or that sung word on Sunday mornings moves into motion in you. I mean, can you describe that in any way? Is it just an innate sense, or?
You know, again, I think it's now becoming an innate sense, in a sense that I try to create that visual tension that makes the viewer go through the image in a specific way. But many times it's exactly, you know, the Pentecost is happening right now, and the Spirit moves, and she comes to you, and you're immediately thrown into a reaction to the arrival of the Holy Spirit within you. And whether that's speaking in tongues, whether that was dancing, whether that was, you know, I'm always thinking that that motion was a major portion of, you know, how he spoke and addressed everybody. You know, they called him Rabbi, the teacher, and a good teacher moves the room. And doesn't stay in one spot and keeps the audience captivated. So again, it's all that the people I remember, whenever my grandfather spoke, his hands were always moving, and he moved in a way that kept your attention so that you didn't lose it. So part of what I want to do when I make my art is that I'm innately feel the need to make it so that you want to journey in the direction that whatever you know, the theme is that day. And so sometimes circles are a majority of what I use in some form or fashion. The circle is, you know, evident in the medicine wheel. It's also evident in, you know, the three creates a triangle, but it's also kind of a circle. And whenever you get together in groups, you know, the best speaking situations are circles. And so, you know, it's a circle. I can tell so much with a circle. The diagonal or the zigzag becomes something that is more apparent. It's more, you know, and the message that it gives is different than the circles. And so a lot of times you'll see, whenever I show community, I either show it in a circle or I show it in a line. And community I show it either as like in teepees, because that represents where everybody lives, or I draw it as like you might see a whole bunch of buffalo, or you might see a whole bunch of horses, and that represents the community. Or you might see people dancing in a circle because the powwow or the wachipi was always in a circle. So yeah, you know, I feel that the words that you give inspire me to have movement.
One of the things that I would just say is that when I look at your finished projects and product that comes from your heart, your soul, your mind, is that it truly does feel like it's a dance for your eyes to look at. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Pilama, I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Your art is definitely a gift and a blessing. So it is. Yes. Anything, Crystal, you had a question about, since we get to live with it in our office for a while?
I don't think I have questions. The same as you, Nicole. I have looked at the art a lot, and I looked at it because I had to decide which ones I was buying. So I looked at all of them and I had to narrow it down. And then after that, I had to look at all of them to photograph each one. And then after that, I had to look at them to put in the video. And then I still watched the video before this to make sure that it worked. And then again, watching it here, I still saw more things, so it's no matter how many times you look at it, you still see new things that come out and new things you notice. And it's amazing the amount of inspiration, John, that you have to make all of these different, formations and to just keep going and never stopping with them. It's really cool that you're sharing them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's a long time ago, I got to travel overseas to wrestle, and my mom was nervous. My son's in Europe right now, and I can't believe how nervous my wife and I are because he's over there and without us, and we can't, we don't have the control we used to have. And my mom was worried and nervous when I went over to wrestle overseas, and she called my grandmother up and said, could you go to the medicine man and ask them to protect him? And so my grandmother said I was going to, because you told me that he was going over. So I'm going over tonight to talk to the medicine man. And so my mom was like, oh, that's great. Tell me how it goes, please. And so my grandma went to the medicine man that night, and they had a ceremony. And couple of years before that, I had encountered an eagle and had a story about an eagle, and that an eagle had come to me and visited me and in person. And in 1989, there wasn't very many eagles in Minnesota at that point because they were making their comeback. And it flew down. We were at Camden, and it flew down and it circled me 3 times. And then it flew up and over the ridge, and it even called to me. It made a screech as it flew over it. And I had a friend who witnessed it, and we were just amazed. And I told my buddy that my grandmother had always told me that was good luck. And it meant that I was on the right path, and that my ancestors were speaking to me and telling me to stay on the path I was on. And so, you go about your daily life, and I'm about to head over to Europe, and I'm I'm at training camp in Colorado, and I call my mom up to see how they're doing, and she said, your grandma went to ceremony to send some Gichis over to keep watch over you while you go overseas. And the medicine man asked Grandma, who do you want me to send these to? Which man is it that you want me to? Is it the white man that was my dad, or is it the one that talks to eagles? So the medicine man had called me out and said, I'm the one that talks to eagles. So I've included an eagle in almost every artwork that I've made ever since. So I noticed that there was only one that I don't think there's an eagle in, and I can't imagine why I don't have an eagle in that one. All my Instagrams always have an eagle, and but I challenge people because sometimes they don't see the eagle, but there's always, and I have to look at that picture again to see why I didn't include an eagle on that. But there's an eagle in almost all of them. So the eagle represents our ancestors, our connection to God. There's a really cool story about how the eagle traded its life as an eagle to become a Lakota to save the Lakota after the flood. And so it's our connection. It's like angels. And sometimes it can be God speaking to you. So I try to honor that in all my work. And so when Crystal said that she finds something new all the time, it's me trying to express Tungashila in ways that I've never done before. And sometimes I just don't know the translation. And like I said, it just comes out of me and I have to recall it later.
I love that traditional depiction of God as an eagle. And it also reminds me that your human figures on there do not have recognizable facial features. I'm sorry. And that's the point, right? It's not about the people. It's not about one certain recognizable person. It's not that you can pick it out and say, oh, there's John in that picture. It's about God, and it's about meditating and worshiping the message or reflecting on the message. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've been at a lot of things. Your son Deacon and I had a great conversation, and I applaud him for what he said to me. And it helped me a lot. But the whole point is being a good relative. And in this time and in the environment that we're in right now, always remember to be a good relative. And it doesn't matter what your race or what your color or what your gender or whatever it is. It's about love, and it's being a good relative.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyone else have any burning questions or comments? It was great to have John take a little time away from a track meet. We so appreciate you. We love to celebrate your work and hear your stories. Those, I would love to follow you around and just have you talk for days. Maybe someday we can do that. I'll be your plein air posse, and you can just tell me stories as we plein air.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Crystal or Pastor, anything? All right, I don't want to cut us short, but it is such an honor to have your work in the Smock Gallery. So if you're watching this video after the fact, you still have time to see it in person up through June 23rd. That is a Friday. If you come in and purchase something, as was one of the last slides in Crystal's video, we will hold those there for you to pick up or make accommodations, but we would like to keep everything hanging beautifully until June 23rd. So please come visit us and see us in person. John, any last words?
if you get the opportunity, I just not trying to plug it, but we just had a ceremony at the Arboretum. I have a sculpture that was donated that I made for Mike Jacobs and Mary Jacobs from Marshall. And he was the art teacher at Marshall for a long time and is a great human being as well, and Mary as well. But they have their brother-in-law and her sister, the Cambrones, Nancy and Carl. They had me commission a sculpture for them that is called Kichi Uzapi. And Kichi Uzapi means to hold each other or to shoot. It means to hold each other sacredly. And it's this sculpture of a man and a woman celebrating. When I first met them, they were still holding hands as they were talking to me, and they were 60 years old. So, I mean, it was just as if they were still in love with each other. And so I made this sculpture with the idea that that it celebrates that love and how important that is. And again, it falls back into being a good relative, that we hold everybody sacredly, and that's how we treat everybody with that same love and respect. Well, that sculpture is at the Arboretum in the grass section, and we just did a ceremonial planting of traditional plants that would be sacred to the Dakota and the Lakota, as well as just plants that they would use for herbs and medicines. But the cool thing is Marlena Miles is making, who is a Dakota artist from the cities, she's making a visual
like goggles, like a virtual tour.
Right, but on site.
Yep.
So you go, and when you go to the spot, you use your phone, you click on it, it'll give you a hologram on your phone, and it'll have the white buffalo calf woman talking to you, and she'll tell you why this area is important. And I just found out that on June 25th, it gets all installed and it'll be ready to go. And it ends at Kichi Uzapi, and with her talking about the white buffalo calf woman, talking how important it is for us to have Kichi Uzapi and to hold each other sacredly, and also hold the earth sacredly, Mother Earth and Father Sky, and how it is important that we think of that in the grand scheme of things. So if you get the chance, anybody that's watching or listening, I think it's just going to be the coolest thing. I've seen some of her holograms, not in person, but just what she posts on her Instagram and her Facebook page and whatnot. And they're really cool. And I got to see the beta version of it. And my sculpture's in the middle, and then all her art goes around it. And it's a lot like the ledger art that I make, but hers is all computer generated. And it's just, I'm moved and blessed that the first time we picked the site for Kichi Uzapi, me and Wendy, the lady that's in charge of the art at the Arb, we were surrounded by dragonflies. And Tusuicha is like the eagle, but in a smaller sense. It's there to tell you good things. And when it presents itself to you without you looking for it, it means that they're speaking to you. Your relatives are talking to you. And there must have been 100 of them. And they buzzed around us the whole time we looked at this site. And then we went there on Sunday to do the ceremony, and we were surrounded by dragonflies again. And then an eagle flew over, and it was just, yeah, it was so cool. And she chose the sculpture, and that this whole, it's turned into more than just a sculpture that I made for a family. It has become more, which is really cool, which is what art should do, that it should touch others and give them their interpretation that allows them to feel a connection to something else. And, holding each other sacredly is vital.
That's amazing. Well, now that's on my calendar for later in June, after the 25th, you said? Yep. And we'll also put it on the SMOC calendar. We'd love to lift up that experience and share that with the general public and they often look at our arts calendar for arts things to do, and that would be great. And we are honored to lift up your artwork. So honored to be able to share that and make more people aware of the work that you do and the meaning behind it. So thank you for being with us today, tonight. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Pastor. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Nicole.
Good night.
Good night.